co-hosted by Maria Mazziani-Gillen and myself, Laura Moss. And tonight we're really honored to have 4 exciting and really terrific readers with us and celebrating Cabin Kerry. And we're going to hand the reading over to Joan Cusack Handler, who is not just a reader tonight, but who is the founder and publisher of this really one of the best presses, if not the best, in New Jersey. And I'll just introduce Joan, and then she'll take over and introduce the other readers.
Aren't you doing the open first?
Oh, yes, I am. Thank you. That's how efficient she is. How efficient she is. So we are going to start with the open, which is why I'm holding this piece of paper. If anybody hasn't signed up, it's not too late. Just let us know. Maria and I are sitting right up here. You can just sign up and come up. And our first reader tonight is, if I pronounce your name wrong, just correct me when you come up. It's the first time I've met him. James, is it Mishner?
Minowick. Just leave out the H and it's easy to pronounce.
Okay, I'll let you say it again when you come up. Let's give him a warm welcome. And one poem, a poet, unless you have 2 very short poems. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Joe. I need you in my life.
Hello, everybody. I'm glad to be here. All new faces here except one for me. That means I can reread my small collection of poems as time goes by. I started writing poetry not very long ago because I'm writing a book. And I just said, well, I wonder if the poets could teach me something about how to put words together. And so I took it up for that reason. And I have to admit they had. So I'm glad I took it up. The poem I'm going to read tonight is called Squirrel Poem. They told me it's hard to write a new poem about squirrels. So I don't know if I was looking for a challenge or I just had an incident I could write about. Anyway, it's called Squirrel Poem with Bobcat. Let me get this out of my hand.
Is the mic high enough for you?
I don't know, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can get up in the front row.
No, everybody can hear me.
No, it's fine.
Okay, Squirrel Poem with Bobcat. I feed them, the squirrels, but after spring breaks, not much. I throw down 30 peanuts along the high white fence. The blacktop bank parking lot stops after the dumpster, and here there's still dirt and grass and 2 trees left. After midnight, I heard federal chirps above and thought they're up there, but I don't know. On the other side of the fence, at the bottom of the gully, there are abandoned tracks. They're half covered with dirt and sodden leaves, twigs and new growth. And in some places they don't show at all. Upwards from that old bottom, there's trees and trees. Maybe they sleep on that side of the solid fence. It's different in dead, snow-white, cold winter. I toss 35 peanuts more often against the fence, and sometimes wonder if that's a snack, an appetizer, or lunch. How many do I feed anyway? I don't know. But it's rougher, even for me, when the air's like ice. And one dark morning, after tossing down 15 peanuts, there came a very loud noise, like a bowling ball dropped on the alley, but dragged out a fraction more. And startled, I looked everywhere fast, more than once, which made that noise queerly louder yet. What the hell was it, I asked and thought, and then looked up. Jesus Christ. From the fence, but already on the dumpster, there was something like a devil, but majestic like a god, and already stopped like a statue, looking forward. And later I thought, surveying more than I'll ever know. Then slowly, so slowly, it turned its head towards me. I did nothing, because I did not know what to do. Only this I knew, it wasn't the neighborhood cat. Old Tom knows that fence has call-outs big enough for him. It was 45 or 50 pounds in a triangular face and odd, queer tufted ears I never saw before. And soundless, like a shadow, and loped off the dumpster and crossed the paved space into cold darkness. Then, after a minute or two, I threw down 20 more.
Our next reader tonight, and remember, just come to see Maria and me, we can sign your name. I see some people coming in now. Kathy Hammond.
This poem is ongoing. You have to go scattered. You have to go with your heart, a parcel wrapped in plain brown paper, tied with twine, like organ meat from the butcher. You have to go with your hair undone and your nails bitten raw to the quick. You have to go with your best old shoes, the holes worn through the soles from your constant wandering, your searching that must never result in finding. Better to go barefoot, better to go naked, with calluses all over your hands, burn scars, paper cuts, unhealed wounds. A little blood is good, but a lot will be perfect. You must go when you're feeling most lost, all the maps burned to ash, the roads running bitter in your mouth. You have to go hungry, with your hat in your hand, and hope you're forgiven for begging. But none of this will matter, because you have to.
Our next reader is, I'm having trouble with the handwriting. Number 3, is it Tammy Labat?
Yeah, no, I think that's me.
Okay.
It's my handwriting.
Okay.
It's James Wilder.
Oh, okay. Repeat your name.
James Wilder. It's a poem called A Moment in the Market. People in their late 50s are singing along with the tunes played in the supermarket. They do this softly, yet unabashed, as if they were alone, preoccupied with physical sensation of times past, and only casually concerned with what must be done with fruits and vegetables, with meats and fish, with groceries. Gravity hiccups when they come near to each other, one or the other or both softly singing, without touching, without even knowing they are near. And so it was with me when, though past my 50s and not singing, I felt a tug of humanity behind me, dancing in the streets. The air grew lighter and drew deeper in me. Air, like light itself, deep in me. The French have a phrase, le petit mot, the little death, that describes a moment that holds all the time in it, past and future tipping on the shaking edge of the present. It was like that then, the moment in the market. I thought to thank her, but thought better of it. There are things best left unspoken.
Our next reader is Christine Hannon.
This is called Kogudai. Can you be a little louder? Oh, are you closer to the mic? I believe. Is this better? Yes.
Or move the microphone
There you go,
up.
Mike.
Oh. This is called Kogudai. She glides through the currents on ashen fins, her petite lip and gently sloping forehead, a call to the eyes of the reef, and any male desiring a prize at his side. But the others don't feel her guitar-picked scales binding her sides like chainmail, or the swelling in her muscles that comes from living as she hopes to, confident, comfortable, and content, and the incessant gnaw to let it overtake her. Should it? They don't feel the slow drip of agony and indecision, the clap of fear as she takes to her den, cementing her beginning. They don't feel the conflicting stir as her dorsal fin lightens, or the spinning torrent of elation and terror as her jaw lengthens and the top of her crown balloons like pride. Will they know me? Will I know me? But when the last of the shadowy, constricting armor has given way to porcelain scales, and he emerges in full for the first time, bearing his bulbous crest and ice-picked teeth, the sun warms his cheek like an old friend, and the raging surf inside him has finally settled. The answer becomes as clear as the water around him. For him, it needed to be done.
Marcia LeBeau. Marcia LeBeau.
Hi, this open mic is a little bit of a surprise for me. I did not know what was happening. I came to see Tina and Marco, but here I am reading this. Okay, and this is why it's on my phone, and I feel like I'm younger than I am, reading off my phone. Okay. The inadequacy of poetry readings. By the way, this has been revised since this version, but I'm going with it. Okay. We whisper in rows and wish someone would rise to the mic. Words wait on standby to be called. They tap their feet and make the audience fidget. Luckily, a strong poet is first in the queue. He humbly reads another's poem, then his own. Those of us who've forgotten the gutters we need to clean and lean forward. The next poet wins us over. Her thoughts give off the scent of a mother's perfume in the delivery room. Why doesn't the fragrance pump through the air ducts like the fake bread smell at Subway? Why do we just idly clap for number 3, who lifts us out of our daydreams and blows his gray matter down the aisle? We are riveted, but he's oblivious. He gingerly picks up pieces of his head. He deserves the pyrotechnics of American Idol, the bass beat of the Stones. Poets, you are reciting the lyrics of the best song never written. The rhythm is your heart and the silence is your pulse, and the ah after the last line is the "We love you, Bruce," screeched from the nosebleed seats of Madison Square Garden. Yet we sit in rows, cross-legged on folding chairs. Where are our lighters bobbing overhead? Where is the guy with the Technicolor dream coat to lead us from this bookstore basement into the night air? Someone needs to be covered in mud, smeared with something, face painted. Someone needs to get naked. A battle cry has been sounded. Now the cannons must roar. Come on, you just told us you're in love with dirt eaters, got molested in the dark, made the first written observation of a boy selling pretzels in Istanbul. At the very least, these words warrant a road trip to Vegas to be inked into someone's DNA for future generations to trace with their toddler fingers saying, "What's that, Daddy?" But what do? We get up and walk to the back to drink cheap wine from plastic cups, munch pre-cut cheese on stale Triscuits, and then walk out into the night in search of our car that might not have enough gas to get home.
Ron Wagner.
I have 2 announcements. First is my newest chapbook is out on Claire Songbird's Publications. It's a collection of poetic vignettes about famous and not famous people, including Norman Mailer, Ben Lifshin, Earl the Pearl Monroe, who else? A lot of people. And the other announcement is Next Thursday, the 11th, I'll be reading at the Patterson Public Library at 6 p.m. It's at 250 Broadway, Patterson, and it's in honor of National Poetry Month. Okay, usually I don't title my poems, but this one needs a title or it doesn't make sense. It's called Brexit. An indolent mind swam the channel from Britannia to Gaul, where wealth-loving Charlemagnes paid the wages of sin to allow graven images to be tattooed on its indolent skull, thereby slamming shut the door to perception. When the indolent mind, homesick, begged to have the tattoos excised, the charlatans chuckled and tossed the mind into the channel, where MPs and PMs could enjoy such spectacle as they shouted, "Hell Britannica."
Luigi Stefano.
Hi.
Bump down a little bit, honey.
Okay. Best performance yet. Marge asks, "What shall I wear today?" She thinks it is a day for brights, a print, something to show off my eyes. She chooses a fabric sheer enough not to hide her mystique, the waking blush of maple, the tentative citron of willow contemplating, here I go again, and azure. She knows people think her too bold, a changeling, a bitch. They don't see the crippling stage fright, her hands cold and shaking almost uncontrollably, the need to keep it fresh, the determination not to disappoint. She says, "I can do this," and tosses handfuls of snowflakes, lighter than sunlight, like almost mayflies in tutus of white, silently dancing their dizzying pirouettes, feet never touching ground. With yesterday's ice still underfoot, she delivers.
Martin Boland.
This is a poem about traveling. That's good, right? This is a poem about traveling. It's called "There is Always That Sadness in Leaving." There is always that sadness in leaving. You breathe it in the dust and the disarray, in the yawning suitcase open wide on the bed, eager to be filled and made whole, jealous of its twin on the floor, stuffed to bursting and full of itself. You stroll about to see what you forgot, but instead see what you remember. That is the saddest part. A room once so welcoming, home away from home, soon to be cast off into photos of Roman statues and cavernous cathedrals and the sagging backpacks of oblivious strangers destined for the immortality of a stranger in a photo. Don't forget the shelf in the shower, the favorite hair clip your wife left behind in Paris. You are missing the city already, so much that you wonder why you visit places like this, to fall madly in love with its secrets, the stately curve of a cobblestone street, the chatty tram driver originally from Brooklyn, and that woman on a bicycle, yellow scarf of whirl, whom you saw twice and who smiled as she pedaled off into the past. Then it's hugging and hauling in a nap on the plane, and home, always messier than you remember. So silent and still, it seems, as you unlock the door, that this home has never been yours until you find on the kitchen table a map of the city you left behind, that never in all your travels did you ever once remember that you forgot, leaving you to ponder what is real and what is not.
Rochelle Parker.
Who just won a big award.
Yeah, announce your award, please. Go ahead.
I was named the winner of the Furious Flower contest. That was chosen, I should say, by A. Van Jordan, a great poet. And this is sponsored, I guess. I'm going to be reading at the James Madison University in 2 weeks. Yay! So I'm going to read one of the poems tonight and try to step back a little bit from the podium.
Just check the
I
mic.
will. I usually think I have a big enough mouth that I don't need a mic, but I won't do that. Savior. My grandmother kept me from killing a man today. She got into my hands, moved them along a stitch at a time. They slowed and stuttered over the snout of this wild boar of a pig, as if fresh back from rooting truffles in the West Virginia woods, a burlap sack, knotted with lanyard hanging from his wrist, but she made me keep him alive. So of the gut of this pink-bellied sow, who lay, split, open, innards falling out, blood on my white dress, on his gold-embellished white robe, blood speckled my white stockings, his white conical hat, blood dropped on my white rubber-soled shoes, his white lids heavy with braided night. White flashed in the corner of my mind. My grandmama's palms flashed with stars and snatches of white hot rays of the sun. Her lifelines gushed with red gold, copper spilled and hardened at the banks, dammed the river. She blocked him at the oystered gates and wouldn't let him push past. Also in the bubble were pairs and pairs of mahogany hands in flight. A woman, pregnant, a white kerchief tied at her forehead. Pink and fresh and new, a baby wrapped in a white apron, flower in its seams. Then, just like that, Grammy let loose a crate of oranges that showered the emergency room, filled my knuckles at the creases with the juices of oranges, and just like that, my fingers flew to knot suture after suture after suture. Thank you.
Alan Pizzarelli.
How am I on that?
Uh-oh.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Daddy, hi. So good to see you again, my friend. And it's so good, being a poet and a lifelong resident of New Jersey, it's so wonderful to see the Montclair Library put on a venue like this for poetry. And Montclair has always been special like that in New Jersey. They've always been like a kind of a cultural center, of the arts. And, I've done poetry things here before. You go in New Jersey, not that many places. We always had to go to New York or Hoboken, thanks to Danny. So it's wonderful, and I enjoyed all of the poets that have come up here today. Wonderful, and may the muse stay with you So I'm going to read a short piece. I am known as a haiku poet, a real haiku poet. And I'm going to read you a little piece I wrote, short piece, that includes 5 haiku. That is called Haiku Railroad Blues. Bending back along the railroad track, tiger lilies. As the train passes, the heads of geese pop out of the tall grass. Snow falls from trees, rumble of passing boxcars. Far down the railroad tracks, the brakeman's lantern gets lost among the fireflies. A train horn fades into the distance. Boxcar wheels.
Our next reader is Donna Beaver.
Hello with that. I'm Donna Beaver, and I'm actually Alan Pizzarelli's wife, and I'm going to read a couple of short poems too, haiku. Alan and I have a podcast called Haiku Chronicles, so if you want to take a listen to some of our short poems and learn a little bit about haiku, Senyu and Tonka, and anything else related to haiku, you can visit our podcast. I'm Alaska Native from Juneau, Alaska, from the Tlingit tribe. So I'm going to read a couple Alaska Native Alaska poems. Starting with from the Fish House. This is from the Fish House series. The cannery, silver of fish and knives. Fingers numb from iced fish, I dip my hands in buckets of warm water to fill my fingers again. Plate of the Cora, bringing memories of the fish house, boats coming in, knife at the salmon's belly, careful not to break the roe. How do we find you in the black of the ocean and plan your capture, white belly with no eyes, charmed by a halibut hook? And a few berry picking poems. The perfect berry touching my fingertips, nettles prick my hand. As the children gather blueberries, Grandma checks their tongues. Picking berries on a path made by bears, we talk louder.
This poet is great Gabriel Cleveland, and then we have one more unless there's some in Dutch after that, correct? Okay. Part of Captain Carey.
Thank you.
Would you go part of it?
Thank you. Get this mic all the way up here. All right. And I'm going to be back there with the books from the Kevin Carey readers. So if you're looking to pick up a signed copy, let me know. So I'm going to read one and then just a very brief one to set the tone after that. Not that the tone hasn't already been set. All right. So this one I just wrote the other day, so we'll see how it goes. This is called Scrumptious, and I wrote it because it was the word of the day on Merriam-Webster's word of the day on Saturday.
Yeah.
So, all right. I will lick the flicking candy cane pole metronome fastened to the fire hydrant by a spring, if only to taste motion. I'll open wide like a rusty storm drain, drink flash flood currents with fugitive leaves and debris so earthy my stomach growls as if the hungry bowels of hell itself. Give me your huddled masses, your cast-off last season favorites to grind between teeth, and I'll savor how much they used to mean. Silks, scrumptious like bird backs, plastic statues, milky and effervescent, refugees, fresh from far-off lands, blistered hands bearing cultures so sweet no other treat will do. And then this other one is just, I thought it might be the last of the open reading, so I thought this would be a good one for going into the rest, but it's short. So it's called Speak. If we're alone and nothing like us lives across this endless galaxy, throughout this ever-growing universe, if cosmic silence is deafening, then every whisper that escapes your lips is the loudest sound in existence, and we're lucky just to listen. Thank you.
Our reader is Marilyn Moore.
I think it's almost 40 years since my father died, and that's coming up soon. His yahrzeit is in April, the coolest month. He was a laborer, a seasonal worker, and so a long time ago I wrote this poem called The Tent Maker's Hands for my father. Your hands blistered in the season of your work, you hauled and pushed in a desert irrigated by your own fluids, every cell forced open to earn the flour, the salt, a sprinkling of sugar. Between furtive sleep and fearsome labor, you gathered your words into yards of enfolding canvas, and you blessed us with your bleeding hands. Thank you.
And then we'll take a break so you can look at the books and talk to the featured readers and have some refreshments. Our final reader tonight is Dutch.
Dutch.
A simple feast. Driving out, I stopped. We stared. This cardinal, right there, eye level, atop the wintergreen shrubbery, hunkered down, puffed up against the cold February day. Close enough that with my hand out, holding some oily black sunflower seeds, with a hop and flutter, he could have landed on my thumb to partake of the simple feast in my palm. But that image came later as I started to write. At the time, I had no thoughts, no desires, and he had no fear. Both of us content to just take each other in. I likely the luckier to have all this living redness streaming into me. Leaving him there, I drove off, grateful for this gift. I thought of the times St. Francis preached to the birds, his devotion, their rapt attention. My encounter, though short, felt complete, nothing missing, nothing extra. A gift also I had given to myself of this simple moment, a moment of prayer. And a haiku. Actually, it's a Ars Poetica haiku. I don't know how many of them there are around. And I always write 5-7-5, so I managed to get 5 accents in the last line. Surge of excitement. Oh, so wonderful. First draft. Cold, hard look next day.